Hey, welcome to our investor series. I'm Brian Mann with Realty Consultants Property Management. I'm here with Dillon. Dillon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into investing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, by the way. My name is Dillon. I'm a local real estate investor, North Carolina, Virginia. I started a company at a young age. I sold it. And then after that, I got into real estate investing. I've always wanted to become a real estate investor. Family did it, so just did it.
Yeah. So on that note, so you sold your business. Was that a lot of the capital you used to get into the properties?
Yeah. So that's the main driver of the capital for sure. Was whenever I sold my company, and then obviously my company took a lot of my time, so I didn't have the time to invest in real estate. So after that, I did, and just dove right into it.
What did you start? What was like your first type of real estate investing? Was it single family home, long-term holds? Was it flips? What was the first thing you got into?
Yeah, so the first one I bought was meant to be a flip, and then I started listening to podcasts and reading books and everything, and I was like, why am I going to flip this house? And so I kept it as a rental, refied it, and I still have it, and it turned out to be an awesome investment.
So how long ago was that?
That was actually in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, so a couple years ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So where are you at now? What's your portfolio size? Are you 30, 50, 10, 15?
Yeah, so currently at 75 doors.
Wow, there you go.
One of which is a 24-unit apartment that no one lives there yet, but completely doing a renovation on it. But yeah, 75. So
talk to us about the rehab part of the business. You know, you have the apartments that you've purchased, and now you're going through the rehab piece of that. What are some struggles you've dealt with on that?
Struggles, I think the main one is just dealing with the contractors, getting them in and out, hiring the correct contractor. There's bad ones and good ones. And then obviously the time it takes, I think, is the main struggle. Especially in today's world, everything takes just such a long time to do. So I think that's the main struggle.
What's the you talk about the timing. What is a time frame that somebody would be looking at if they're going to purchase even a single family home or an apartment complex, 24 units or whatnot? What is that time frame of, okay, I'm purchasing and then I've gotten all the rehab finished, completed?
Yeah, for sure. So I tend to go overboard, which is a good thing and probably a bad thing as well. So my typical, like on a single family house, my typical time frame is about 6 months. Okay. But I do everything from like floor joists to completely demo kitchen and baths, just everything down to studs. I've also had houses that only take a couple months, but typically for me it's like 8 months.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So are you the type of investor that loves to get in there, get dirty, and get your hands on everything? Or are you the type that's like, I'm just gonna step back and I'm gonna have somebody else do all this?
Definitely, I like other people doing it. I am handy for sure, but not when it comes to like floor joists and replacing those type of things.
Yeah.
I'm very hands-on when it comes to managing the contractor, so I'm there almost every day, watching them do their work and making sure that they're on point with everything. But I'm definitely not going to be crawling under crawl spaces.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the barriers of entry of somebody who's thinking about getting into the investing game. It keeps them from doing it because they feel like, oh, I have to do all the work. It's the sweat equity that I need to put into it. That's the only way I'm going to make any money on it.
Right.
And that's what keeps people from going into it. But I'm the same way as you. I've told people I don't even like to paint my own houses, and that's about the easiest thing you can do.
Exactly.
So what are some of the other pitfalls that you've kind of encountered along the way as you've gotten into the business?
Honestly, I think the biggest pitfall for me, which was a disappointment, but now I've learned to kind of work around it, is the whole idea of cash flow. When I first started investing in real estate, I thought it was going to be super easy to buy a house and make all this cash flow, but you really have to manage the properties correctly, which is obviously if you have a good property manager, then it becomes easy. But the cash flow aspect, all these social media accounts and everything keep saying that you buy real estate, you get all this cash flow, you can retire early and everything like that, which is true for sure. But I think it takes more than what people think, at least in my findings. But yeah, I think that's the biggest pitfall that I've found for sure.
So that leads me into my next question, because you mentioned property management. So how important do you feel adding that property manager to your team in your process? How important is that, and what do you look for them to do to help you?
Yeah, I mean, for my way of investing, the property management company is like the biggest aspect, because again, I'm not one to go through crawl spaces, and I'm not one to take phone calls in the middle of the night and go fix the toilets and deal with the many different contractors that the property management company deal with. But the property management company, they do everything for me. They do anything from the tenant screening, taking photos of the property, to the maintenance. They deal with literally everything of the property. And then me as the owner, of course I have to manage the property manager, making sure that they're doing their job. But if they are doing their job, it's kind of just like a seamless, investing.
Yeah. It seems like for the cost, if you're looking at the whole thing as a whole, 100%, this is the return I'm getting on my investment. The cost is not much, considering the time and emphasis you have to put. When you really start looking at the dollar cost average, or dollar productive time of that time, you can spend more time, more higher dollar productive time, not having the phone calls in the middle of the night, the people, hey, I need you to come fix this toilet, chasing rent, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and I think when I started my company, and then obviously throughout the whole process, I was very good at delegating tasks. And I think with a management company, that's everything right there. I mean, they do it all, and
Cool.
yeah.
So, all right, if somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm ready to get into the investing game, what would be the one thing you would tell them, you have to do this? This is something that I learned. You need to make sure this is done right off the bat.
Wow. So that's an interesting question for sure. Right off the bat, I mean, I think you have to define what type of investing you want to do. There's so many different investments out there. There's single family, condo, multifamily. There's so many things. I'm in a little bit of, not everything, but single family. I have a couple condos and multifamily, but I don't think you could do that like right away, because then you're just spreading yourself way too thin. And then I think the biggest thing is getting properties that you can find value add in. That has been huge for me, because everyone has a set amount of capital that they can use. And so if you find properties, you can rehab them and you can refi them, you could keep reusing your capital. So I think that's, for me, I think that would be the biggest thing for sure.
Right.
Finding value add properties.
We talk to people all the time about defining what it is, the type of investing you want to do. We also talk about, are you in it for appreciation, or are you in it for cash flow? And I think, in our opinion, it's hard to do both.
Right.
You really need to figure out which one you're in. So that being said, what's your take? Where are you with are you typically an appreciation investor or a cash flow investor?
So I started out just being the cash flow because I thought it was the easy thing to do.
Right.
You know, get that cash flow, retire. But like you said, you can't really do both. So right now, I still think I'm more on the cash flow side, just because I really want that to work. But the looking back in history, I mean, the amount that houses and just real estate appreciates is amazing.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm still on the side of cash flow for sure, but I'm getting more towards the appreciation side, and everything like that.
Right. I think that's natural. I think a lot of people start in the cash flow area, and it is what it is. That just kind of puts you in lower valued, typically, projects. And then all of a sudden people want to diversify. And then they get into the middle or upper end, and then therefore you're automatically in appreciation at that point, because really, your upper end's you're not gonna, the cost, the expense cost of that on a monthly basis, you're probably not gonna recoup in the rent like you would in the lower end. Unless you do like Airbnb or something like that, which I think people are starting to do now. Do you, are you doing much flipping now? You said you started out doing that.
Yeah, so I do not flip. I've only flipped one house, and I completely regret it because it would have made a great rental. And for me, I like holding all my properties, unless it was a situation where it just would not rent for the amount of money you have invested into it. But that one was a perfect rental, and I wanted to flip just for the aspect of flipping.
Right.
And I did it. I regret it, and I probably won't do it again. So no, I'm a buy and hold investor only.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart thing, especially because, I mean, you're building this residual income along the way. I think a lot of people want to get, flipping seems so much sexier than buy and hold, right? Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people, I think, want to get in the flip game to start with, but then you're constantly having to go out and restart and restart and restart and restart versus here, add another one, increase your cash flow, add another one, increase your cash flow, add another one, increase your cash flow.
Right. I think flipping potentially is good for people starting out, because then they can flip a house, they could get that profit,
Yep.
and then they could put that profit into a long-term type of investment. Right. So I definitely think flipping is a nice way of going. But yeah, I'm all about the long term.
It's good to know. It's good to have a plan, stick to your plan, and work it. So, School of Hard Knocks question. What have you learned along the way, the hard way, that you would like to put out there, tell our audience a little bit about, that could help them? Hopefully they've learned from you, that you've already learned from either making a mistake or whatnot. Yeah,
I mean, I think the biggest mistakes that I've made is the whole buying asset, not liability talk. Is that, you have to buy the assets first. And whenever I had my company, I was making money, I would buy the liabilities and not the assets. So all these liabilities would take up all this monthly income that went nowhere. It was literally just wasting money. And so I even teach my kids, I mean, every night before they go to bed, they always say, buy assets, not liabilities. So if you buy the liabilities first, like real estate, every piece of real estate you buy is an asset. You buy the asset, and then you can buy the liabilities eventually, because your assets can pay for your liabilities. So I think that'd be the biggest thing.
So you sound exactly like Robert Kiyosaki by saying that.
Well, Rich Dad Poor Dad was definitely a book that I read for sure.
So that being said, tell everybody so for those that haven't read the book, what's a liability? What are some liabilities people are buying along the way?
Yeah, I mean, just put it into kids' terms. The liability is what takes money out of your pocket, and the asset is what puts the money into your pocket. So cars, to me, again, this is kind of my personal opinion, even your personal residence is potentially a liability because you're not making money off of it.
Correct.
You're constantly either paying a mortgage on it, or your air conditioner breaks, you got to pay for it. So a liability is what takes all the money out of your pocket. An asset is what will always put money into your pocket. And the more assets you buy, obviously, the more money you have in your pocket to pay for the cars, to pay for the life you want.
Yeah, very wise stuff. On that note, tell us about, you said you've read some stuff from Robert Kiyosaki. What are some of the books that you've read along the way that's kind of helped you get into the game?
Yeah. So, I mean, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that was, I think, every real estate investor has read that book. And if you haven't, definitely go do that. That book is amazing because it teaches you about buying assets, not necessarily real estate, even though there's a lot of real estate in that book. But it's just all about the assets versus the liabilities. So that would be like the number one book for sure. Other books, I mean, anything produced by BRRRR. I'm a huge fan of BRRRR. I listen to all their podcasts and everything, but Brandon Turner makes awesome books. I don't know the specific names of the books, but definitely anything by BRRRR for sure.
Okay. What's some of the real estate like the types of real estate investing you're looking forward to get into in the future? Kind of like, so you've done single family buy and hold. You're getting into some multifamily buy and hold. Where is your trajectory? Where do you see your trajectory going? And what are some of the projects you're looking forward to possibly doing in the future?
Yeah. So I think every investor potentially wants to get into the big multifamily stuff because honestly, my biggest multifamily is a 24 unit. But the process of buying a 24 unit apartment versus buying a single family house was the same process. Maybe different loan structure, but it was the exact same. Mm-hmm. So you're buying 24 doors versus one door. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into the large multifamily. But honestly, the single family is amazing as well. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do both, single family and multifamily, but more so the large multifamily.
Can you talk? You mentioned earlier about the BRRRR model.
For sure. Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think that's something that people really could utilize as they're growing their portfolio.
Oh, 100%. So the BRRRR method, which I think Brandon Turner or David Green from BRRRR coined. So you buy the asset, and then the R, you rehab it, you rent it, and then you refi it. I've done that with every single one of my properties, and so in theory, you have a set of you have capital, and that capital, if you spend it all, it'll go away. But the BRRRR method really allows you to just recycle that money. So if you do it correctly, you could pull 100% of your money back out of that one asset, and then put it into another BRRRR property and do it all over again. So I love the BRRRR method, and I think a lot of other investors do as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really allows you to buy properties, add to your portfolio quickly.
For sure.
You can build that, and that's what I always tell people. One of the things I tell people early on is make sure you buy as many as you can as quickly as possible because it spreads out your risk. Kind of like if you have one rental property and the AC goes out, or you have vacancy for 1 month, it hurts you a lot worse than when you have 10 properties and one AC goes out, or you have vacancy for 1 month.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally agree for sure. And I think that's what the single family house investing really gets a bad name, because most people only buy one or two, and then they have one vacancy out of 2 properties, and they're like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I can't pay for my mortgage. And then with the multifamily, if you have one vacancy out of 100 doors, it's not really going to hurt you that much. But yeah, I agree totally.
So Dillon, one last thing, if you wanted to share to everybody, what would it be?
I mean, I think I know I just said this, but the buy asset, not liability. I mean, that is, again, my kids say it every day. I preach it to everyone that I know, because not many people really understand that concept. So I think if I could leave with you guys with anything, it's the whole buy asset, not liability.
Gotcha.
For sure, 100%.
Very wise stuff. Well, I appreciate you coming on with us. You've had some really, really good stuff to share with us. Thank you guys. Dillon, you're awesome. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.